Now, what do you do when you have such large number of SKUs which have unreliable forecasts? So the pitfall to avoid is, like, I've seen people sitting across the table having a large list of items in a spreadsheet, all colored red because they have failed the forecast accuracy metric. Now, the problem here, which I often suggest, is that you are treating all your demands as equally important. So it may not be so, right? Improving the accuracies of all types of demands may not actually contribute to value. So the solution that we see is, when you look at your demand data, imagine you're looking at weekly shipments and you compute your demand frequency and variability of those products, and you can do it per location. So you have a particular product, you are actually seeing the movement in multiple locations where the point of consumptions are, and then you're looking at the frequency and the variability in terms of the quantum of the output, right? So what is the difference in the levels at which they move and the frequency in which they occur? So if you have this information, you can classify the products into logical segments. For example, runner, repeater, visitor. So for example, the ones that have the products that are demonstrating a very steady demand, very frequent, that means they are frequently occurring and they are, the variability in the volume is not too high. You can classify them as running products. Similarly, the ones that you can see that there are intermittent frequencies, but they have healthy demand, you could call them as repeater. Then there could be ones that are highly intermittent, and you may not have, they could demonstrate a lot of variability also. You would classify them as visitor. And then, these are things that, are terminologies that you, depending on your business, can also coin. You can create those depending on what makes sense to you. But what happens is, you have a clustering algorithm which is looking at your shipment data, like we just talked about, and is able to tell you and break it down into different clusters, which means you are looking at SKUs or planning items at different buckets, which could be very different in terms of their profiles, and which might need a very different type of approach. And that goes back to the point of not looking at all the demands as equally important. So if you're not looking at all the inventory that you carry as equally important, then you might have a policy for it to handle different segments, right? So you might have a different stocking level for running products versus the visitors, right? That would actually help you to contain the accumulation of inventory uniformly because of just some forecast variability, right? So you are looking at other aspects also. So the result of it is this, that you'll be able to set the right levels of inventory in the right locations, and you can also identify where SLAs can be negotiated with sales and customers, because once you have a segmented view, you might be actually seeing a product which is more infrequent, but you are still carrying a lot of inventory occasionally, just in case you miss out an order. You can actually go to your sales, or you can actually carry forward that conversation with your customer and see that if you are carrying certain products which is unnecessary, or you are just carrying it because uh, it doesn't justify really that, right, from a cost and service level perspective, because you'll have to have those numbers. You have a point of renegotiating your SLAs, right? And then you can also identify opportunities to standardize items. So if you have too much customizations, but those customizations are not selling, so is there an opportunity to go negotiate and uh, you know kind of shrink the category a bit and say, only, let's try to shrink it, consolidate it, and standardize it, or even phase out items that you are not selling so much, right? You're just carrying them. So there is an opportunity to reduce your SKU count. So the reduction in your SKU count also reduces the decision complexity, because you're dealing with lesser number of items, right?